Wife's mental health crisis and paranoia led to assault charges, our family's crash, and her landing into a psych hospital and jail. My wife, 37F, let's call her Reba, started acting strange at the beginning of March. I had a week of vacation and she got into a really weird argument with me on my last night before going to work. There was a time a few years back when she was engaged in I guess what's called an emotional affair. At the time I was working 2 full-time jobs plus a part-time on the weekends, all while taking the last few courses to finish my degree. I had less than 5 hours per day to not be working or in class. During that same period, she started sexting and flirting with this guy, Aiden, 22 meters, through Facebook, who was not only a total loser and complete stranger, but had been dishonorably discharged from the army for sleeping with a 15-year-old girl. Reba told me homeless, jobless, Aiden was moving into our house and helping to raise our kids since I wasn't doing anything to help our family, and if I didn't like it, I could out. Her tune changed real quick when I suggested how all this might look to a family law judge. Suddenly she wasn't so polyamorous. Weird. Like, really? You think so low of me that this is the guy you choose to have an affair/triad with? Anyways, fast forward to last month and she frames that whole time in our lives as when you stepped out on our family and your responsibilities. I was furious. I stormed out of the house before I said or did anything rash that I would regret. I didn't go anywhere, just slept in my car in the driveway. Over the course of that week, which would have been the 3rd week of March, Reba got more and more paranoid. Like, turning off Bluetooth and location on her phone and putting it in the freezer to keep whoever from listening in. Rummaging through my phone and email. Accusing me of having affairs with various relations of hers. Accusing our daughter, who is barely a teenager, or having multiple abortions. The list goes on and on. Like, accusing me of being some sort of skinwalker who wasn't actually her husband, not knowing her kids were her kids. She got to the point of completely disassociating from her current time and place. It was a trip to see. Never in my life have I seen anything like it. She said I was speaking foreign languages to her. Fluently. I barely made it through high school French, lol. No idea where she got that idea. On Friday of that week my oldest kid called me in complete terror. She was crying and so scared of her own mother. I could hear all the kids and my wife all screaming and crying in the background. It sounded like a horror movie. I told my daughter to call 911 and got off the phone. I called my sister and asked her to head over to our house and make sure the kids are okay. Then I called my boss to tell him I was leaving work. I arrived home just in time to see 4 sheriff deputies and 2 EMTs wrestle my wife to the ground and haul her away in an ambulance to the psych ward. She had grabbed one of the deputies by the balls to try and get away from them. Reba is lucky he doesn't press charges. I'm pretty sure assaulting a peace officer is an automatic felony, not to mention resisting arrest, etc. After the ambulance left I walked into our house. It looked like a bomb had gone off. In her paranoia, she had gone through all our important paperwork, think birth certificates, car titles, tax info, etc., and mixed it all up with full-on trash. There's a bunch of missing DVDs I borrowed from the library that I can't find. Something tells me she didn't return them. I can't make heads or tails of any of it. I called her father, let him know what was going on and asked if he would come help out with the kids, and told him how badly Reba had said she wanted to talk to him face to face. That was something she had said many, many times during the days leading up to her hospitalization. He was on a plane to our house within 2 days. While she was in the psych ward, I was able to visit her once. From the sound of it and also how she was acting, it seems like she may have had sex with / was raped by another patient in there. I don't know what to believe about this anymore. I'm just glad she didn't get pregnant. After the 72-hour hold was up, the doctors recommended she stay for inpatient treatment. She wasn't willing to do that, and they didn't have the legal grounds to hold her any longer, so home she came. It took her less than 24 hours to get arrested for assault charges once she was out of the hospital. This ordeal started with me falling asleep in the middle of the day. She came into our room and initiated sex. As we started making love, she began saying things that didn't make sense. She was begging me not to come inside of her, and laying all sorts of weird ground rules about how we could have sex. All of it was very out of character for her. I pulled away from her and asked if she was still here. Was she with me? That's when the bombshell about her having sex / getting raped in the psych ward was dropped. I am ambiguous here because I think she couldn't give the guy consent if she wanted to, considering her mental state. I'm not sure if she was out and out assaulted. They have security there and I doubt they would allow something like that to happen. The thoughts racing through my mind at this point. Do we need STD tests? What if she is pregnant? Do I even know my wife anymore? When she realized what she had said to me and my reaction, I was shocked, but calm and collected. She really went off the deep end. She started pushing me around, grabbed me by my shirt and threw me into the wall. She started screaming at our daughter, unplugged the TV, then Reba pushed our daughter down onto the ground and started screaming nonsense at her. Once she started getting physical with our kids again, I decided to call 911. 911 operator told me to get all the kids into the same room and keep her away from him. I barricaded them in our bedroom, which can only be reached through our kitchen. Then her dad and I put ourselves in between my wife and the kids so she couldn't get into the kitchen even, let alone my bedroom with the kids hiding in it. Reba charged us. Her dad blocked her from entering the kitchen, and as she tried to get past him, she ended up with her butt in the sink. She started punching him in the face and also kicking me at the same time. She nearly kicked me straight in the balls, but was just an inch or so too high. When the sheriff showed up at our house for the second time in a week, they were through playing around. I asked to not press charges, but they insisted and said it was no longer up to me. They arrested her for assault, saying that this was the first step in legally forcing her to comply with the medication and psychiatrist's recommendations, etc. Now Reba has an arrest record and the courts say she isn't allowed around me, the kids or our house for at least a month. It's what's called a DANCO, domestic assault no contact order. She was so disoriented at the trial, I listened to the trial on Zoom, that she wasn't even sure what her name was. My sister went to her trial and went on record saying how Reba is the best mother she has ever met, etc. etc. My sister even offered to host my wife until this DANCO is over. When Reba was released from the county jail, she got super hostile with my sister and refused to go to her house. My sister stopped at a grocery store and called the county mental health crisis hotline while my wife wandered around inside. Some folks from that organization, it has the acronym COPE, showed up and were able to calm her down enough to get her to my sister's house. I thought maybe things weren't so bad until I asked my kids if they wanted to talk to their mom on the phone. They all started looking really scared and all said no, please no. She had called me from my sister's house. At the time, the DANCO didn't say anything about the kids because CPS hadn't interviewed Reba yet. She kept on calling and demanding I bring the kids to her. She even bought a bunch of expensive toys to coax them into seeing her. I ended up bringing the kids by my sister's house on the way up to my dad's house for Easter weekend. It took maybe 5 minutes for her to start verbally abusing my oldest daughter. Before we left, my eldest daughter said she never wanted to live with my wife again, that Reba would never ever have custody of her or her siblings. As we were leaving my sister's house, all my kids said similar things along the lines of it was a bad idea to see her, that their mom should be in a hospital, and that we shouldn't be around her until mom is better. That arrangement of my wife staying with my sister only lasted a few days. Reba spent maybe 70% of the time in a hostile, paranoid rage. She accused my sister and brother-in-law of grooming our daughter, 13, to be a surrogate for them. She told me they drugged her. She said that if she wanted to hurt them she would have done it already. This was said while she was cleaning a gardening knife, which is certainly at least a little threatening and hostile. After a few days of this they, my sister and her husband, called to say that the situation was completely overwhelming. We, my father-in-law, sister, brother-in-law, and myself sat down intervention style to convince Reba that she needed inpatient care. 2 more mental health crisis workers came from the county to interview my wife. They also agreed that inpatient care would be what's best for Reba. At this point she is no longer welcome in my sister's house. It was so odd seeing my wife talk to the people from COPE. She is so nice, congenial and charming to anyone who has the authority to affect her freedom or her medication. Meanwhile she is hostile at best with folks like her kids, her husband, her father. All the people who are truly in her corner are being treated like shit by Reba. She has always been a stalwart anti-authoritarian punk rock type of person. Seeing her kiss ass and try to manipulate her way out of a situation is beyond bizarre. One of many odd side notes, those folks from the county mental health crisis hotline, COPE or whatever you want to think of them, have multiple files and reports on my wife. One is from 2013, and the other is from 2016. We've never even lived in the county my sister lives in. Weird, right? My father-in-law and I brought her to the hospital that's supposed to have the best mental health facilities in our area. The psychiatrist there spent 15 minutes in a Zoom call with Reba and decided she isn't psychotic and wouldn't be a good fit for inpatient care. Thanks, Doc. Once again I'll reiterate how odd and out of character it is to see and hear Reba interact with anyone in a position of authority. They gave her an appointment for a medication consultation and set up a therapist visit. Reba has completely blown off any and all psychiatric evaluations. Today she told me it's up to 18 appointments that she has missed since getting out of jail. This is a major contingency of her ever being allowed around our kids again. This is a mandate coming from CPS, and she is completely ignoring it while also constantly texting me how much she misses them. Update 1: Reba's dad checked her into a Motel 8 for the night since she had exhausted all her other options. She is currently staying at an extended stay hotel. Reba is constantly lying to and fighting with the pharmacist near where she is staying. Reba told me that her dad had told the pharmacist her mother's birthday by mistake and now she can't get her medication. What the pharmacy told me was that Reba had tried to use an expired insurance card from 2007 to fill her prescription. We barely knew each other at that point. I have no idea why she would do something like that. I have amazing insurance. I only spent $4 to fill her prescription and had zero problems getting it filled for her. This isn't the woman I fell in love with. I'm currently on FMLA. I've burned through my vacation time. I have to watch the kids. I had to go tell their school counselors what happened. This whole episode took place over spring break. It's on me to get the 2 in from school. Plus we have a toddler who is too young for school. I can't just not earn any money though. I'm about to lose my house and my car.